Thank you, Carol, for that kind introduction, and thank you to Courtney and Carol Adams from the bottom, Carol Grimes Foundation. Thank you to the Civic Roundtable for hosting this event, and thanks to each of you for being here today. I am honored to be speaking among such distinguished leaders in our community. I'm humbled by this award because I know that it doesn't only belong to me. It belongs to others in our community who have guided me from the beginning and who continue to guide me in this process. It belongs to Alan Tilley, who inspires me, there he is right there, who inspires me by his dedication, his knowledge of the issues, his kind willingness to always help when asked, and his leadership in making climate change awareness a priority in Jacksonville, who continues to be an absolutely integral part of Jacksonville's sustainable future. This award also belongs to Jimmy Orth from the St. Johns Riverkeeper, who truly understands the concept of sustainability and who is a humble but highly effective pioneer in our community. It belongs also to Lynn Paradise, who has been a cheerleader from the beginning and has greatly expanded the idea of who we are and who led her church to becoming a green sanctuary. To my husband, Manny Chapman, for letting it be okay for me to do this. For picking up the slack at home, for giving me boosts of confidence when I needed it. And for being patient when I talked his ear off as I tried to work out the complexities of sustainability in my mind. This award also belongs to my grandmother, Phyllis, for babysitting so that I could go to meetings, for never getting tired of my stories, who offers pragmatic but loving advice, and who wisely cautioned me when I was going over my speech draft with her, just don't make it boring. To my children, Aramis and Donovan, who motivate me to create a better world. To my mom, Diva, for instilling in me ideals of social justice. And to Carol Grimes, Hugh Courtney, and Carol Adams of the Grimes Foundation, who are now providing another level of increase by giving us this wonderful platform to speak amongst our great local leaders who have set the stage for the discussion that is happening right now. There are others that most certainly need mention. Janet Stenko from Sierra Club, Pete Johnson from the Audubon Society, Tom Larson from Sierra Club, and Sarah Borens from the Green Team Project. I could go on. As you all know, it takes a community of people working together, a concert of people working together to improve a community. And I know that at this time, I am just the latest symbol of a movement that's going on right here in Jacksonville. You know, a couple of years ago, when I first started on my mission to do my part to fix the environmental problems that I had just then become aware of, I didn't think I'd end up here. I'll be honest with you, I got active in this movement for purely selfish reasons. Although I consider myself to be an empathetic person, someone who's sensitive to the needs of those outside my circle, the truth is I only got active in the environmental arena when there was an imminent threat, let's say. I had learned about the environmental problems, and I felt that my children needed me to do something. It was my responsibility as their mother to do something. So that was my entry point into caring about this cause. What were these environmental problems that scared me so much that I felt I had to take immediate action? I learned about climate change, and that we were at a tipping point, a point where the growth that had occurred through industrialization was now threatening the delicate balance that we thrived on. Don't get me wrong, I'm not against industrialization. In the beginning, when industrialization was burgeoning and offering great potential for the quality of life on Earth, we didn't have to worry so much about the balance. Industrialization brought many positive advancements for life on Earth. But if you imagine that industrialization represents walking up a seesaw, in the beginning you don't have to worry about balance or a tipping point, but as you approach the axis, it becomes imperative that you keep balance in mind. Standing at the axis of the seesaw, you can either take a step forward and embark on a descent, or you can take action to provide balance, which will allow you to keep moving forward. Right now, we are at the axis point on the seesaw. James Speth, Dean of Forestry and Environmental Studies of Yale, observes, half the world's tropical and temperate forests are now gone, half the planet's wetlands are gone, persistent toxic chemicals can now be found by the dozens in essentially each and every one of us. We're facing climate change, we're facing potential water withdrawal from our St. Johns River, and a depleting reserve of water in our Floridan aquifer, urban sprawl that diminishes our quality of life, increases our car emissions, and destroys wildlife habitat, and polluted waterways that contaminate our food supply. The list goes on, and it's quite overwhelming. As I said, I became an environmentalist of sorts when I learned about climate change and the other environmental problems that we face, and I started to wrap my mind around the idea that my actions in everyday life that I take for granted, impacted the natural world around me in ways I could have never foreseen. And not only did my actions have impacts, but that those impacts on natural systems could come back to haunt me. I could have never imagined before learning about climate change that something as seemingly harmless as leaving my lights on when I left a room would cause a power generating plant somewhere to have to dig for and burn more greenhouse gas emitting coal, just to accommodate my thoughtless decision to leave the lights on. Or that my decision to drive a car larger than the one I needed meant that I was putting out more emissions of greenhouse gases, which contributed to climate change. My point in explaining my path to environmental activism is not to convince you of climate change, but to explain the new way of thinking that climate change turned me on to. I had a realization that I was connected to the natural world, that humankind was connected to the natural world. We weren't separate from it. Our actions were part of the system, and we could either choose to act in ways that replenished it or in ways that diminished it. So a quick assumption may be that we need to simply curb growth in our population, growth in the amount of resources we use. It's true, we must conserve more and consume less if we are to fix our problems. But we also know that growth is unavoidable. So I would frame the discussion not in terms of how much we grow, but how we grow. Did you know that ants actually have a higher biomass than we do? It's true. Individually, we're heavier than they are, but collectively, ants weigh more. But there is something strikingly different about the way the ants operate and the way we've been operating lately. In the book Cradle to Cradle, the authors explain that ants consume, but they give back, and in ways that replenish the system. In the course of their daily activities, ants turn and aerate the soil, make water passageways for drainage, and recycle the waste of other species. They can be found in every corner of the globe, just like humans, from harsh deserts to inner cities. But they tailor their activities to their local environment. The authors also use the analogy of the cherry tree. Considering the leaves that fall from it in autumn, we can see that it generates much more matter than it needs. Yet, it lives in harmony with its environment. The leaves that fall in autumn actually serve a regenerative purpose in the surrounding area. They revitalize the soil. Not only that, but the tree itself provides habitat for animals and cleans the air. There is a balance there. There's a balance there, and that is what sustainability is all about. Carol Grimes captured it well in a phone conversation I had with her the other day. Sustainability means preserving the critical balance of giving back commensurately what we take out. The challenge for us right now is to learn to integrate our lifestyles and technology with the natural environment.